Well, I'm finally back to working on this engine. I took a little break from grinding on this rear axle housing, but I'm starting to get it pretty close to being smooth. But I went ahead and got it wired up. Most of the wiring's done. I think I've still got to wire the electric water pump and then just tie some wires up out of the way. Got the carburetor on. I put a 2-inch spacer on and was starting to work on the fuel line, getting fuel to the carburetor. I bought a complete fuel system direct from Holley. I got the fuel tank, fuel pump, filter, regulator, pressure gauge, fuel lines, everything compatible with the 85, including this Holley Ultra XP carburetor. And they sent me, and I got this fuel log which is supposed to go on here. And the thing was, I was supposed to take this AN fitting out, and this fuel log was supposed to screw right in, but hopefully you can see the difference here. The fuel log's got a 7/8 thread, and the piece that I was supposed to take out has a 3/4 16 thread, plus the adapter that came out has an O-ring for sealing, a rubber O-ring, and this takes an aluminum washer. So I'm not going to be able to use this Earl's fuel log. I'm going to have to try to come up with something myself here today. I've got a whole pile of parts. I've got a whole pile of adapters and fittings that are supposed to be used for putting this fuel system in the car, but I'm going to try to see if I can fabricate my own fuel log with what I've got, just to be able to get this engine started. I did call Holley. I was on hold for about 45 minutes before I finally got to talk to someone, and spent about 15 minutes on the phone with them, and they didn't have a solution. They don't make an adapter, and there's really no way to use this fuel log on this carburetor. So I guess I'm on my own here. In spite of all that, Holley's been really great to work with. I was able to email back and forth, and they helped me come up with a complete system from the gas tank all the way to this carburetor and return line and vents. And so far this is the only snag. Of course, this is the first thing I've started, so I may run into several other snags, but the rest of it's pretty cut and dry. I think this was just an oversight that this fuel log doesn't fit this carburetor, and some of their other fuel logs aren't approved to be used with the 85. And the last thing I want to do is take a chance on some corrosion or some dissolving fuel line plugging up my new carburetor. Okay, I'm getting ready to start this thing and run it and do the cam brake in. I'm not going to claim it's the first start, because I have started it 3 or 4 times. I was actually a little bit startled when it fired up. I finished wiring everything up, wired the water pump up, got the fuel lines installed, cycled the key to make sure I had fuel. I detected one leak on a T-fitting here that I had forgotten to tighten. But after I saw it had fuel, I went ahead and let the fuel pump run to fill the bowls. Cranked it over, just wanted to see what it would do. Not very long, just a few seconds. Gave it 1 squirt of fuel, and I hit it, and it fired right up. So I shut it down immediately. Went ahead and checked a few other things. So I set the idle up, fired it up. I think I've got about somewhere around 2,500 RPM on it. I checked my electronic gauge for oil pressure was showing 0, which concerned me a little bit, but I don't have a lot of faith, especially these gauges that came with the stand. The wires are so small, it's hard to even strip the insulation off of them without breaking the wire. So I got my mechanical gauge out and put a mechanical oil gauge plumbed in up front here, and I fired it up one more time, and this was showing 80 pounds of oil pressure. So it's ready to run. I got to hook the water lines up, get some water in the block. I need to get my temp gauge out to make sure it's firing on all cylinders. I've got my oil pans ready, so after I do the break-in, I'll drain the oil and pull the filter, probably cut the filter apart. Yeah, it's, I think we're ready to go. Again, this has been started 3 or 4 times. Surprised me the first time it started. I was just cranking on it to see what it was going to crank like. I gave it a shot of fuel and it fired right up. there, 32 minutes, 19 seconds.